Welcome back to the MobilityWOD. Today we're going to talk about classic hamstrings, and we're going to hit this from a different approach. It's also time that we kind of formally address contract, relax, hold, relax stretching, which is basically a little tiny branch of a whole kind of system of mobilizing human movement using kind of the position sensors, the tension sensors of the body to kind of facilitate movement. It's called proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Ergo, we say hold, relax, contract, relax, because the second you make it all techy, no one cares. So what we want to do today is show you what we're talking about and with this technique. Lots of ways to do this, but this way I find works well for the big kids with the big muscles who are strong. It's easy to understand and we see changes right away. Remember, if you don't see change, there's no change, right? It's a simple equation. Really up front, we want you to experience change, and I want you to be able to correlate. So if Adrian lays on his back, I'm going to flip this around and aim it at Adrian, and he holds his knee slightly below his hip, so it's kind of hip crease below the knee. What we want to do is kind of assess our range relative to where we'd actually be squatting. And then he's going to fix the back of his leg in place, and he's going to extend his leg. And without losing that hip crease below the knee position, he should be able to get his leg completely straight. And straight up and down. You'll see that he's actually passed straight up and down, and because he is fantabulous hamstring, posterior chain, mobilization, flexibility. Now, it's incorrect to say hamstring. This is the tissue we're biasing mostly, but it's still flexion and leg extension. Don't be clear. Be clear. Don't be imprecise. There's a lot of structures behind the knee that can limit that. We're also tapping into the glutes and the fascia and the connective tissue, all of that stuff up and down. But this is a gross way to say, hey, we're talking about hamstrings, but that's the main piece that we're stretching, but we're still mobilizing all of this. So that should be the assessment. What we want to do is try to correlate that. We stand up for us, Boz? Into an actual human movement, because that assessment is useful, but it's only a correlate for a real human movement, which is what we care about. So if Adrian keeps his back ramrod straight and then he just folds forward doing a good morning, you'll notice, stop, two things. One, Adrian only has one hip joint right here. Will you stand back up, Adrian? Show me two hip joints. Overextend your back and do that. That's two hip joints. One hip joint, two hip joints. Not okay to have two hip joints. Back up, one hip joint, this is straight, and he goes to the limit. This relationship does not change. Adrian has a mobility issue, not. He looks fantastic, and you can see that he's had to put this hamstring on tension, these posterior structures. There's no change here. That's how it works. So I want you to correlate how far you can go over. Some of you guys who are a little limited, belly's tight, one hip joint, go ahead and stretch forward. There's going to be short yank. That's where you're going to go. What we'll see is guys start to round their back. Show me that. Not okay. All right, so I want you to start to learn that kinesthetic sense of when your hamstrings and posterior chain ends and where you start to feel tension and round. We want to keep that straight neutral position. One reason why a good morning is a fantastic exercise. Why we work on pulling so much doing the cleans and power cleans. We see so much broken position because people run out of room. Sitting on a box, it looks like this. Adrian does the sit test. He sits ramrod straight. He's in neutral. He's not overextended. Overextend for me. That looks terrible, and we'll make it worse. Just be neutral. His rib cage and pelvis are in straight up alignment, and then he's going to not lose any relationship in his back. He's going to straighten his legs, and boom, he does not change that position at all. What we see is the guy's legs down will start to extend, and they'll lose their back. Do it for me. And round. And if there's any change in relationship here to be able to extend the legs, no bueno. And if you see, Adrian will get into a good position, and they'll hop forward into a deadlift setup, would you? Boom, it's the same position. And now you can see how sitting on the box with back straight correlates into this movement. And that is why we want you to understand the movement, not these little gimmick correlates. So here it is. We're going to do some contract relax here. Adrian has got his trusty blue band. He's going to hook it on the back of his foot. He's going to pull his knee to his chest. Now look, this is stretching by yourself. Being stretched by an expert is awesome. Being stretched by a hot Pilates girl, more awesome. But if you're just by yourself in a room, go ahead and grab the blue band, hook it on your foot. We've got his knee bent in this position, which is fine. And the reason we're doing that is it unloads the big sciatic nerve in the back. The back is neutral on the ground, and one of the nice things about mobilizing yourself with this is that your back is being protected, unlike the box where he had the tendency to round if he didn't have control. He brings the knee all the way to his chest, and then he's going to wind that sucker up, end range, and pull that foot straight towards his face, keeping tension, knee to chest. Adrian's flexible enough that he can probably reach up and grab his own foot. That's fine. He's going to build peak tension, nice high tension in this thing for 5 seconds. Gets tight. Hold, hold, hold. He resists himself. You can even say hold. Don't let me move me. And then he releases. And now he's going to got 10 seconds to go passively stretch into the new range. Your muscles and nervous system are working together to temporarily inhibit the hamstring tension. This gives him more room and more opportunity to stretch further. He's got to spend time in end range. The research says end range static holds work the best. Okay, so now he goes to the new end range. Pulls tight, big breath, belly tight. His knee falls off the ground, that's fine. If I'm a good friend, I could come over, hold us down, I could sit on his leg, but that would be a little bit too much man-on-man contact. And so I'm just going to stay safely over here, not creepy. Releases, he moves into the new range, hangs out for 10 seconds. We repeat this cycle 5 to 6 times, or at least to meet that 2-minute mark. Why? 2 minutes is as long as it takes to get those tissues to elongate, right? It takes time under tension, and it takes about the best guys in the world about 2 minutes to do for him. 5 seconds on, 10 seconds off, repeat that as many times as it takes, or until you stop making range. Does that make sense? Nice job. Now take a look at this. We want to remind you that there's always a little bit something else. You're going to do each hamstring at least 10 cycles. So go hit that kind of 2 minutes, come back 2 minutes, see if there's any more in there. We want you to explore until you stop making change in your hamstrings. Lacrosse ball. In the butt. Here it is. I can extend my leg and be working on some of those soft tissue pieces. Belly is tight. It's a poor person's active release technique where I'm laying my big meaty hamstring on top of the ball and I'm pulling past. I'm affecting all of the changes in the tissues. It could be soft tissue, it could be sliding surface, fascia. I can get deep into that insertion of that thing, fine. Also keep in mind that you always have this complex connective tissue system. They call this the tensegrity model of fascia. If I limit how far I go, that's as far as I go. You can see kind of test, retest. If I put this ball on the bottom of my heel, this is akin to voodoo, and I just smash the bottom of my heel for a second and get in there, because I'm a connective tissue web, and we don't want to get too caught up in which side is looser and tighter. We just need to get some work done.
Battery's almost there.
And then, retest. Is there any difference? Absolutely. And the reason is I affected some of that change. All right? Dink around with that. We'll see you tomorrow.